Okay, it is ironed together. It's ready to applique, and then we'll trim it to our 12.5 unfinished for a 12-inch finished block. Enjoy! Okay. My little birdie is standing on my thread thing on the top. So we're going to do around that. It's so fun to be able to create and do anything you want. The sky's the limit. Make your project yours. Make it personal for you. It doesn't have to look like everybody else's. That's what's so nice about sewing and quilting. Be your own person. Personalize your projects. And sometimes I do more than one of the same project, and if that's the case, yeah, make them different. They don't all have to look the same. And if I ever teach a class and talk to people, hey, that's what's nice. Make it your own. Make it personal to you. Change up your threads, change up your fabrics. It doesn't have to look like the pattern itself, because this is for you or whoever you're making it for. Make it special for that one person. When you do your bindings, pick the favorite color of that person that it's going to be given to, so that they can enjoy the project. So, alrighty. Okay, I am done with that part. Now I am going to move on to the green for my leaves that are on my little tree. I'm going to change my thread to some green here. Now, some people like to applique, and they will just use the same color of thread for everything. You can do everything in white, everything in black or gray, or you can change your thread colors to match your fabrics. Either or works. It is all personal to what you want your project to look like. So you make it for you there again. You do not have to. There's also a cool thread called monopoly. It's clear. It's kind of like fishing line. And it takes a little bit of learning to use that, because when you do your bobbin, you only want to fill it like halfway and you have to keep it tight and stuff. But then it's clear and you don't see the thread. And some people even quilt their quilts with that. Just takes a little practice to learn how to utilize that. And every machine is a little bit different also. And so you have to learn what thread works best for your sewing machine and your long arm or whatever machine you're using, because some machines like one thread brand better than another. So It's all just a learning curve and learning what works best for you and what you are doing. Okay, there's 2 leaves down. Now I'll do a couple more sets here. Still on the little zigzag because I'm doing these little items. Sometimes it goes over a little bit, but if you don't like how it turns out, you can always use your seam ripper and take it out and do it again. Sometimes if it's just a little bit, the thread will pull and you can just take it out also. I am doing the blanket stitch around all of my applique, and I will change thread colors as I go so that they match the fabrics or make them stand out. After I finish doing this, I'm actually going to turn this into a pillow that'll be, because this will be a 12-inch finished block. So the pillow itself will probably be about a 14-inch pillow when I get finished. Appliqué is something I have been learning a lot. I do a lot of laser cutting and appliqué kits, and I'm learning how to do the appliqué myself and versus giving it to others. And it just takes a lot of patience and time, but it is so rewarding when you're done. Small pieces and many curves take a lot of patience, but just keep going. Right now I'm doing tree branches and the tree. On this birdhouse sewing machine. Birdhouse sewing machine. A friend of mine designed this. For a project we're doing at my work. Coming back around my branch here. Getting closer to being to the bottom of my branch. I'm getting back to the tree stump here in just a minute so we can get. And then I'm going to move on to the stand on the birdhouse, which is also brown. Make sure you have bobbins for every color. There's nothing worse than having to run out of bobbin. I just had my machine worked on and had a clean and service done on it, and so my tension is good. So I'm actually, instead of using the same color of thread on the bottom as I am on the top, I'm using white, but it's working quite well. But if you can have a bobbin of every color, that's always good, because then if something does go awry and your tensions are off and it pulls the thread from the bottom at all, then you still have the peace of mind that it's not going to show up too much. There's my blanket stitch right along the edge. I'm going to do the tree, or do the base of my birdie house base in the brown also. And sometimes when I'm working, I like to do more than one project at once if I'm appliquing, which my next project I'm going to do, I'll do more than one project, applique them, and then I'll, or iron them together, and then I'm ready to applique, and then I can just change from one project to the next in one color. So if I have to use brown on multiple, or black or blue, or then I can just rotate and not have to change the thread so many times. And that speeds up, and then you can do multiple projects at one time. So that's just a tip. If you're doing many projects, do them all at once, and then you don't have to change your thread so much. Okay. The base of my post is got the grass bush right in front of it, so I'm doing that one first. Now we're going to turn, go back up. It's a good day to be sewing because it's nasty weather outside and cloudy and windy and rainy looking, and so we're going to just enjoy sewing. Okay. Where'd my scissors go? Trim my little tail. And then we will move to the next thread color. So I think I'm going to turn it and do, what did I do? My birdie. So on some of my little things, it's kind of hard to do a blanket stitch. And so I might decide instead of doing the blanket stitch, you can do a straight stitch or even a very small zigzag. So I'm going to do a little zigzag around my little birdies instead of a straight stitch. Gives him a little bit of texture. Oh, trying to thread my needle. And I always just use it with my eyes. I don't use my needle threader. I need to learn how. But I have an older machine and I just always have threaded it. Sometimes it takes me a minute. So I'm going to put this on a zigzag, which on my machine is a number 7. And I'm going to put it down really low on my number, like 0.5, because I want it very small for these really little birdies. And I'm just going to zigzag around them for my applique stitch. Move it up to a 1, see if that makes a little difference. It's a little too small on a half. I like to stop with my needle down. And later on, after I get it all done, I'll go back and do a little bit of hand sewing to like add the beak and to add my feet and my eye on my little birdie. You can do it with your sewing machine if you want to take the time and do a quick little one, but I've found that I haven't had a lot of experience with that, and I kind of prefer it to be by hand. But if you're in a hurry, you can do a quick little straight stitch for his legs, and I have done that before. Okay. I think it's not the best I've done, but I'm trying to, like I said, it takes a lot of practice and just a little bit at a time, and practice makes perfect. We learn how to do these things. I'm still in the learning mode myself. On the applique, but there's only one way to learn. And that's by doing. And I've done a few projects that have turned out pretty cool, so I'm working on this birdie house, sewing birdie house. Not often you see a sewing machine birdhouse, so this is going to be our fun theme we're doing on this project. All right, one more birdie to do. And I'm using a navy blue around my blue just to help my birdies pop out a little bit more on my fabric. Okay. So this is a very little tiny zigzag, so you don't see a lot. But it's just enough to make them stand out a little bit. So just a little bit to make him pop out, the three little birdies. So we're working on those. Now I'm going to move on to what I put in the navy blue thread also around my spool of thread that's on the top of my birdhouse. That's its little chimney. So I'm kind of doing around that. Put a little fly or a hand wheel on there, and around the front doors and a blue, navy blue. And so I'm going to do those also with this thread before I change my color again. Okay, done with my spool of thread. Now I'm going to move to the birdhouse's door. I think I need to get that to the edge. Okay, I'll move to the flywheel. I know a lot of people use an embroidery machine nowadays, and they do all these things and they just change their colors and it stitches it all for them. And then there's applique that they can stitch around on there in their embroidery hoops. I've got a lot of friends that do that, but I haven't got one of those, so I just do it this way, and it's very fun. I enjoy it. Oops. Oh, I forgot to do my little birdie post in brown. And I forgot to do my little birdie's perch post outside the door in brown. So now I got to go back to brown real quick, do that little tiny piece. I try to make sure I look at everything and do them all so I don't have to switch back and forth. But whoops, forgot that. So give me a second. I'm going to do a quick little one more brown piece. Darn it. It's just a little 1/2-inch circle or oval here that is my birdie's perch outside the front door of his house. Do that in brown. And then my kids are out and my husband's out doing some yard work, and when they get back from doing what they're doing, my husband said he'd take me to lunch. So then I will have to put this on pause and go enjoy a lunch with my husband and my son for a little bit today. All right, so I've got my blue and my brown done. Now I'm going to, let's see. I think I'm going to do my birdhouse itself, which is a turquoise color. So I'm going to turn my thread to turquoise to do the main birdhouse itself. And if you want to learn something new and just be able to have a fun activity and make some fun things, applique is just kind of a fun thing. So the needle. Eyesight is not what it used to be, guys. And I am trying to do it this way because I am lazy and don't want to learn how to use the stupid threader. But people are going to tell me I'm crazy that I'm not using the threader because they say it's fantastic, but I'm doing it this way. All right, here we go. Turquoise thread, da 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 da. Now I got to come do this little end piece down here. Trying to come back here again. To my sewing machine birdhouse. And I'm still on my zigzag. I didn't change it back to my blanket stitch. See, you can do many different stitches. Now that I didn't change it, it's okay. More texture. Straight stitch, zigzag, blanket stitch. You can do any of the above. As long as it is hauled down, because if it ever gets washed, if it is not stitched down, it will come up. So we'd want... It just stopped and restarted itself. So I'm going to sew these on with a 1/4 inch seam. Side 2, another 1/4 inch seam. Trim off the little bit of excess, leaving a little bit so that I don't get too short. And here you can press your seam open with your iron, or I am going to finger press it. Just by folding it over and pressing it open. And I'm using the same fabric I used on my sewing machine for my little outside border, so that it's going to be a little bit of a border all the way around, looking like that. Now that I have those finger pressed on, now I'm going to put my top and bottom on. There again, I will pin it in place, and then I will do my 1/4 inch seam. Gonna sew right at the top of my birdie. And I'm going to pin it on the bottom. Okay. Now to sew my 1/4 inch seams. I'll lengthen my stitch just a little bit. to the top. To my 1/4 inch seam up here. To trim these off a little bit so they're not so long on the ends where I don't need them. And this one here. All right, then I'm going to finger press this open. And the bottom. Trim a little more off this side. Constantly clipping strings. And I've got my borders around the outside. Now I'm going to get my back ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my pillow, the top that I'm going to do here, so it's facing me, facing up on the table. And this is at about 14 inches. I bought a 1/2 yard of fabric to do the backing, so I know I'll have leftover, I'll have extra. So I'm going to take this backing and I want 2 pieces that are going to overlap. And they need to be about 3/4 the width or the length of what your pillow is. And then we're going to overlap them so you'll have enough. So I will definitely have leftover of this fabric, but that's okay. We can use it for something else. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to flip it all over because I laid it onto my fabric about 3/4 the way down the length. And then I'm going to flip it over so I can see the pillow top. And I'm going to trim the fabric so I have the 2 pieces cut that I am going to use for my flaps. So I am going to cut it equal with the top of my pillow. And the leftovers over there. So now I have 2 pieces of fabric with the salvages that I'm going to have this piece with the salvage and this piece with the selvage. And I'm going to hem where the selvage is, and I'm going to fold it over where the selvage is, and then fold it over one more time and do a seam, so that that will be the edge of my pillow opening. So I'm going to seam. I will finger press my selvage over, and then I'll fold it over one more time on that edge and hem it so that there's no raw edges. And you can use your iron and iron them. I'm just finger pressing. There's one. There again, second side. Finger press over the selvage edge, because we don't want all those little holes in the selvage in our edge. So I fold that over, and then I fold it over one more time, equivalent, to give me about a 3/4 inch fold over on that edge for our casing. And I'm going to hem that. Okay, now I have both pieces for my back of my pillow. And what I'm going to do is I am going to set them down facing fabric, right, print side up, and I am going to put them so that they overlap about 3 inches, one over the other. So that when I have my pillow together and I flip it back, then my pouch is there. And then I'm going to make sure, when I flip it upside down, I want my pillow, the backing, the casing opening to be facing down. So that one is on top of the two, and I'm going to make sure my right side is up, that goes down onto there. And then I'm going to take this upside down, and I'm going to kind of center it so that the fold over pieces are going to be in the center of that pillow. There will be excess I'll be trimming off of these. So I'm going to line this up. So there again, the top of my pillow is going to be facing down, and the back side is the fabric is facing, so they're right sides together, and I'm going to sew this together. So I'm going to go ahead and pin all 4 sides, and sew all 4 sides, because that opening is on the other side, that I will flip it right side out, and then it'll be ready for our pillow. So let me get this pinned together so we can get this pillow finished. We'll be done here in a few minutes with our first fun pillow. Make sure when you're pinning it that where those 2 pieces that'll be in the back are overlapping, that you pin those so they don't shift. Okay, one side pinned. I'm going to rotate it here on the table. I'm going to pin. And I'm putting my pins in so that as I turn it on my sewing machine, they're all ready for me just to pull them as I go. Second side pinned, rotating it from my third side. Pin in that back piece so it doesn't slide in one. Here's the second one. So that's not going to slide. Pin in the corner. Turning it to the last 4th side, making sure everything's flat and safe so we're not getting any buckles. Got a pin here. One more pin. Okay, now I'm going to stitch it, then I will trim it because there is extra, because I had extra fabric. But it's better to have too much than not enough. Because you never know, you might decide to make an extra border and make it bigger, or it depends on what size of pillow you end up deciding to do, or wall hanging, or table covering, depending on what you decide you're going to make. And here we go. Oops. Tipped over my camera. I'm sewing so crazy. Okay, got one side. Flipping to this number 2. And Okay, turning to the third side. Okay, and moving to the fourth side and the last side. We're getting closer, people. This is going to be so exciting to have a nice springy pillow for my couch. Okay, now I'm going to trim the excess off so that I'm ready to flip it. We're just about there. All right, we're finishing up this trimming. I also like to, on my corners, what we call clip the corner so that it's a little bit more rounded and not square, so that when I need to flip it, they're going to be more pointy instead of have a problem when I turn it. So I'm trimming the edges. Put my corner. Okay, there's my corners. All right. Here comes the truth, people. We're going to first, I'm going to do one corner. I kind of use my finger and just push it in to get my corner. I'm going to go to my other one. I'm going to do the same. We're pushing it in. I'm going to go to the other corner. Pushing it in. Oh, this is getting exciting. We're getting closer. And I'm going to turn it right side out. Half there. Oh, there's the other half. Got my pocket that's going to fold. So there's the back with the fold. And the reveal of my thing. Now let's put a pillow in there. Let's do it. I've got a pillow here from my couch. And we're going to stuff this in here. I like to make pillows too. Put new ones for each season on my couch. All right. And there we are. Thank you for watching. Watch to see what I do next. Thank you. my other quarter together here. And on my last side, here we go. Sometimes we gotta get all those little extra strings out of there. And come into this last corner. Make sure you back stitch a little bit. Fantastic. Trim my thread from that from the beginning. All right, this is what I'm going to show you. This is the finished product, everyone. We have got our June Bug Z. Isn't he just adorable? And then I'm going to go back and show you the other one I had done that I showed you at the very beginning. So this is June Bug, and this was Daisy May that we had done. I showed you I'd finished beforehand. This one is the one I forgot to put the batting in, so the back you see the stitching, but that's okay if you can do it either way. So I've got May and June, and they're all finished and ready to go. So we are going to next work on the next month when I get that kit. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. So I have pressed my background fabric, and now I'm going to peel the backing off of all of my appliques. So that's the first thing I'm going to do so that I can get ready to put them together. Isn't this the cutest sewing machine?
consuming supplements as much, and now I love shooting neuro. And I also was very worried that they were growing, and I didn't know if it was going to be sustainable. Little did I know that these guys were going to shoot it out of the park. I see where you guys are heading, and it's actually a little
And this next chapter is more than just growth. It's about giving back, just like Daniel taught us. We've donated over $1 million to charity, including $500,000 to ocean conservation through PatioWare. It's impossible to imagine where it would be without Shark Tank. Euro was built on an amalgamation of all these experiences that we had thanks to getting in front of the sharks.
With Daniel by our side, we've been dreaming bigger, hoping to be the next billion-dollar brand. Then the royalty goes away. When did you become so nice? I know. I'm happy to do 3X, okay? I don't know, what do you want? This thing makes cash, let's get into it. Sure, I can do that.
One last thing. Can y'all help make tip videos for us?
What do you think we do? We're social media whores. Well, yeah, but yes, absolutely.
Then you have a deal.
Good. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Never saw that happen.
Oh my god. Oh, alright, let's round it up now, right? It is. Time to get to work. Time to get to work. We're already having, they're going to help us blow it up. So the 15% wall where it's a little bit, we're ecstatic about it. We're so pumped. We're so pumped.
Deal was the perfect deal for a royalty.
It was, and you were like, how dare you? No royalty at all. As soon as you were in on it, you were like, let's go royalty.
My life is a big coincidence.
Stories.
Next up is a solution for those with active lifestyles and long hair.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Sarah Fox from San Diego, California, and I'm here seeking $250,000 in exchange for 10% of my company. Sharks. I just paddled in from a sweet sesh heading to 10. I rushed off the beach to get here. So I didn't have time to deal with all of these salty snarls.
So I've pressed my background fabric and now I'm going to peel the backing off of all of my appliques. So that's the first thing I'm going to do so that I can get ready to put them together. Isn't this the cutest sewing machine?
You could blow yourself out of business if you're not cautious here. I love your authenticity, but it's just not a category that I connect to enough and I want to. Without a deal, let's see what they're up to now.
In the tank, Robert and Kevin both wanted a little more equity than we were willing to give up. But that moment gave us the momentum that we needed to really take off.
And the night we aired, we saw an increase in sales of over 727%.
Week over week, it was over 800%. But then it all kind of came crashing down.
We got hit with a heavy market lawsuit for the name Euro. As a startup, we didn't have the funds or the resources to defend against the national lawsuit. Daniel Vetsky did mention at the pitch that if we ever needed something, we could reach out to him. So I decided to reach out on Instagram, and believe it or not, he responded.
Ryan can't explain that they have to keep with the lawsuit. I had something like that happen to me in my early years of time, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen to these guys. So I said, all right, I'm bursting it in.
We're blown away by that level of generosity and kindness, and for 18 months, he helped us settle this lawsuit.
In 2024, we were the fastest growing brand on TikTok Shop, one of the 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States. We're sold in CVS, Amazon, Whole Foods, Sprouts, and
20,000 other locations. Euro has secured partnerships with people like DJ Steve Aoki, Yuki Tsunoda, F1 driver, world's strongest man Mitchell Cooper, and most recently, comedian Andrew Schultz. Before Shark Tank, we were in business for about 4 years. We had about 1.5 million in lifetime sales. It's been 6 years since we pitched, and we've generated 135 million in lifetime sales. We've accomplished more than we would have ever imagined. It's just one thing, a shark. You didn't expect anything from us, but it just feels appropriate that we can officially ask you to be a part of the Euro family. We look at Daniel as one of our mentors already, and now he's an official investor in Euro. This is a dream come true and full circle moment.
When Ryan came into the tank, I wasn't consuming supplements as much, and now I love shooting Euro. But also, I was very worried that they were growing, and I didn't know if it was going to be sustainable. Little did I know that these guys were going to hit it out of the park. I see where you guys are heading, and it's time to make this a little bit more common.
And this next chapter is more than just growth. It's about giving back, just like Daniel taught us. We've donated over $1 million to charity, including $500,000 to ocean conservation through County Aware. It's impossible to imagine where we'd be without Shark Tank. Euro was built on an amalgamation of all these experiences that we had thanks to getting in front of the sharks.
With Daniel by our side, we've been dreaming bigger, hoping to be the next billion-dollar brand. Local stories.
Next up is a solution for those with active lifestyles and long hair.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Sarah Fox from San Diego, California, and I'm here seeking $250,000 in exchange for 10% of my company. Sharks. I just cuddled in from a sweet sesh heading to end. I rushed off the beach to get here, so I didn't have time to deal with all of these salty snarls.
We had to stay a little longer so we could fix things. Because supposedly the temp power to the very top light out.
Telling the local government to do the job of the federal government. It's just a long pathway. Right now, Washington Client at 10, the local sheriff responding to a new bill requiring his deputies to work with ICE.
And to do it, Tim, Idaho State University wraps up its biggest fundraiser of the year.
And tomorrow they're going to put their life behind that contest.
And the sort of 10-day mission now nearing an end. And we'll have complete coverage of Artemis' return to Earth tomorrow on Nightly News at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBC. When we return in just 60 seconds after 14 long days in the dark in a flooded tunnel, the incredible rescue of this miner will show you how it plays out and how crews are brought out. That's next. Rise has had been climbing, brushing off flakes, and searching for answers. Now, with Gonzalez, come back to clear skin. Only Gonzalez targets and blocks IL-17A plus F to calm inflammation. Most people got 100% clear skin. Sometimes at the first dose. Serious side effects like suicidal thoughts and behavior, infections, and lower ability to fight them, liver problems, and inflammatory bowel disease occur. Tell your doctor if these happen or worsen, or fevers, chills, muscle aches, or cough occur, or you've had a vaccine or plan to before spring.
I love you.
Hey, Mitch, come here.
Worst case of flu in recorded history.
Okay, I'm moving on to go around my curtain and my quilt. I'm using pink this time. Okay, oh, and it looks like I forgot to do the grass and the green, so I've got to change back colors again to green. And this one I just used a bobbin for thread because I didn't want to pull out a big spool. And I happen to have a pink that I did around that. So I'm going to put green back on again to do around my grass at the bottom. Shows how nervous I am doing this with a video because I'm usually pretty good at being able to remember and check all my pieces. Thank you, husband, for asking me to video this. Okay, here we go. Green. Okay, let me double check one more time, and I think I'm done with the applique part. Now it's going to be doing the handwork for the needle and the feet on the birds and their eyes. So I'm going to use oh, black thread. Where's my black thread? Okay. I am done with green. So taking off the green. Where's my black? I think my black thread might be on my other machine. Nope, it's there. Found it. Gonna use black for my needle. Let's see. Thread my needle again. Okay, we are going to do, I'm going to put this back to a normal straight stitch. And I'm going to make a needle. Okay, so I've got my needle for that. Let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and use my hand needle. I've already got some orange thread on to make my beaks on my birdies. Okay, I'm using a triple layer of double layer thread, so there's 4 strands actually in my needle, just to make it thicker, because I'm not using embroidery floss or crochet thread, so I'm just using regular thread. So I'm using multiple layers to create my beak. Okay. And I'll tie a knot on the back, and then I'll move to the next bird, because I'm doing his beak. So there's One birdie beak. Now I'm going to do the next. And one more. This one I like to make it so it looks like he's singing. So I do two with open beak. So let's see. Okay, tying this off. Now I'm going to change my thread and make the birdie's feet. With the black thread. There again, I'm doubling it up. So I actually have 4 layers of thread, so it will be thicker and you can see it. Gonna put their legs on. And on to number 3. Now I've got to make their eyes. And just because I'm getting lower on thread, I'm going to change that down to 2 things of thread. And I'm going to make a little eye. And one more to go. And if you didn't want to do this, seed beads are always fun. You could do that for an eye. You could use thicker thread, make a knot. Depending on the size of your bird, if you have a tiny, tiny button, you can put a button. All many options. Okay, very little eyes. There we go. There. Okay, now I'm going to square it up to my 12.5 by 12.5 so I can put my binding on, so that I can, or put my border on so I can turn it into a pillow. Okay, so I trimmed my square up to 12.5 by 12.5, and I am going to make a pillow out of it. I am going to put a 1-inch border, so these are some 1.5-inch strips that I'm going to sew on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to put a back on it that is a envelope, so that it's 2 pieces put together with the edges, this side and this side are going to be hemmed under. They're going to be folded over part way and then sew it in around all 4 sides, so when I flip it, you can put a pillow in there. I like to do ruffles, so I might put a ruffle on this one. So I'm going to use a 4-inch piece of fabric, iron it in half, gather it with a long stitch, pull it and gather it and put it around it when I sew it in to make that. So watch and see how I do it. 4 pieces for 4 sides. As I put the 4 pieces on, I'm going to pin each side so that it doesn't stretch and go contorted. So I'm going to do 2 sides. I'll stitch them and then also pin the other 2 sides after I've pressed them out to get my little border around the outside. If you don't like to use pins, you can use quilty clips. Work really well too.